Thank you, Frank. Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Tuesday, December 16th. We have a new format to our agenda. I'm going to read a statement, and then, Bill, if you can go into a little explanation about that. Appreciate it. Okay, so we have a new statement now with the agenda. The chair reserves the right to call items on the agenda out of order. If any times are listed below for items, they are considered approximate times, and items may be reached earlier or later than the posted times. The listing of items are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. So this statement is really in response to just looking at the time.
Yes, we've had a couple discussions about this in recent meetings by the board relative to time-sensitive issues, and I know that it was correctly pointed out that we have listed times on the agenda, and at times we've actually looked to go take items earlier than posted. And so I actually asked council for advice on this, because you want to have some level of flexibility to deal with these items. So what has been done and recommended is this language to be posted publicly on the agenda prior to the meeting, so that everybody is aware that the times that are given are approximate times. And that in this particular case, we've taken the times off for all the items except for the beginning of the meeting, which is of course 7 o'clock. There may be times, however, where there are hearings that are going to be coming up, where those are considered to be approximate times, and so that gives you the ability to take items a little bit earlier or later, depending upon how the item goes. So that gives it's a disclaimer, if you will, that gives the public notice that that those items may be taken earlier or later as the time prescribes. So this is a format that was recommended to me by council. So I've asked that this be included on your agendas going forward, so that we're clear about how we should handle that for items like that. So.
And I appreciate that. Can I make a suggestion?
Sure. Yeah.
Sometimes there's nothing worse than going to a meeting and sitting there for 3 hours, not knowing.
Right.
We know the agenda, and
Yep.
when we put the agenda together, we know if it's a 10-minute item or if it's if it's an hour item. I think you can still achieve the same thing by putting that statement on there,
Yep.
but actually put the times and say they're subject to change depending on the night.
Okay.
So if I pull it up on the website and I see estimated 9:30, I don't show up at 7 o'clock and sit
Fair
there
enough.
for 2.5 hours, because it gets expensive for consultants.
Yeah.
So with having the disclaimer in it, we could actually list some reasonable times.
Yeah.
For items. Okay. Very good.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Great. I'll read the agenda. 7 p.m. meeting opens. We have citizens' input. Topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. Selectmen's update. Waxy O'Connor's disposition of liquor license violations. A Board of Selectmen discussion on the Town Council RFP. A board discussion on the warrant articles for the spring annual town meeting. And a town manager update by Bill Keegan. John, can you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Start with our first item, citizens' input. Any citizens for input? Okay, thank you. Selectmen's update, I'll just give a brief update. With the holiday season here, I just want to remind the community that Toys for Tots, there is a donation box still at the Public Safety Building, so if you have the opportunity, any donations are greatly appreciated there. The discretionary fund is going to be making deliveries this Thursday, so any adults who are available to help with deliveries, please contact the discretionary fund. And lastly, just wanted to take the opportunity to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Kwanzaa, happy general holidays across the board, and wish everyone a Happy New Year also. Okay, so our first item is Waxy O'Connor's disposition of liquor license violations. Frank, do you want to come forward? Frank has provided us with some updated materials here.
So, yeah.
Good evening.
Evening.
At the two meetings, we got Attorney Frank Spillane, representing Waxy O'Connor, with me, Paul McKinnon, representing the ownership. At our two meetings last week, a few issues were brought up, so we provided some information with regard to that. I dropped off earlier this evening a package with a letter from myself and Paul McKinnon, as well as backup information letters that I had previously sent to the town. And with your approval, I'd like to go through that.
That'd be fine, Frank.
Okay. The first issue had to do with the settlement agreement dated January 23rd, 2013. One of the questions had to do with compliance with that agreement with regard to Waxy O'Connor's. And in my letter, I go through items 3 through 10. In my explanation on some of the items, I refer to the letter from Paul McKinnon. So what I'd like to do is go through my letter and go through those items one by one, referring to Paul's, but going to Paul's later on. The first item is item number 3. Items 1 and 2 had to do with agreeing that there was one violation and that the licensee, Waxy O'Connor's, would not appeal the finding of one violation. Item 3, which is on page 205, licensee shall serve a 16-day suspension of the license. Waxy O'Connor served that 16-day suspension from January 23rd to February 7th of 2013. Item 4, on page 205, the licensee shall reimburse the town of Foxborough for the actual costs associated with investigating the violation and holding the hearing in the amount of $2,000 by letter dated January 30th, 2013. I believe you should have a copy of that. From myself to Town Manager Kevin Pecos. A check for $2,000 was provided to the town. Item number 5, on page 205, licensee shall make a gift to the town of Foxborough in the amount of $8,000 for purposes of public safety training. Again, a copy of a letter dated February 22nd, 2013, from myself to Town Manager Kevin Pecos, enclosing the check for $8,000. Item 6, page 2 of 5, line number 1, licensee shall maintain a functioning electronic identification scanner on the premises. Waxy O'Connor's did purchase and has maintained a functioning identification scanner on the premises. I also refer to Paul's letter, which we will again go through after my letter. Item number 6, again, page 205, sentence 2. The licensee shall develop a formal written policy governing the use of the scanner and the criteria for requesting identification from patrons. And a current copy of said policy shall be provided to the board, town manager, and the police chief. Letter dated February 22nd, 2013. Again, you should have a copy of that. From myself to town manager Kevin Pecos, enclosed said policy. I also refer to Paul's letter. Item 7, which is on page 3 of 5 of the settlement agreement, states that the licensee shall require all servers maintain TIPS certification and shall conduct in-house training for all employees on the licensee's rules and procedures for serving alcohol in April of 2013, October 2013, April of 2014, and October of 2014. Again, Paul's letter goes to that. Items 8, page 3 of 5, the licensee shall employ security staff on Fridays and Saturday nights between 9 and 1:30 a.m. and during any special events drawing larger than the usual number of patrons. Again, Paul's letter addresses that. Item 9, licensee shall hire, pay for, maintain detailed police officers from the Foxborough Police Department as may be necessary in the judgment of the chief police to maintain law and order upon the licensed premises, including without limitation the parking lot. Again, I refer to Paul's letter. Item number 10, licensee shall appear before the board on March 5th, 2013 for a status conference regarding the licensee's compliance with the agreement and the terms of license. Thereafter, licensee shall, on June 1st, September 1st, and December 1st, 2013, submit to the board, the town manager, and the chief of police a written status report detailing the licensee's compliance with the agreement and the terms of the license. Enclosed, you should have had a letter dated April 16th, 2013, from myself to the Board of Selectmen, James DeVellis, Chairman, explaining that Waxy's had requested to be placed on the Board of Selectmen's agenda for March 5th and then for March 19th, 2013. But we're not placed on either agenda because of limited time and numerous agenda items. In that letter, I indicate that the town manager, Kevin Pecos, advised us to provide the Board of Selectmen with a letter updating them on compliance with the agreement, and said letter does that, and you have a copy of that. And then in May of 2013, I met with town manager Kevin Pecos, updated him on Waxy's compliance with the agreement, and requested to be put on an agenda around the 1st of June, so that we can provide the board with an update with regard to the compliance agreement. Mr. Pecos said at that time the board was very busy and there was no need for Waxy's to go before the board. I asked Mr. Pecos if he required any additional information with regard to the status report. Otherwise, we'd send a letter similar to what I sent in previously. So I was asking if there was anything that was missing that I thought was important. He stated to me that the status report wasn't necessary and that I was just to keep him updated. Again, sometime, I believe, late June of 2013, I again spoke with Mr. Pecos regarding a written status report, told him how Waxy's was keeping up to date on it, and was told that written status report was not necessary at that time. When Mr. Cutler was appointed acting town manager, I updated Mr. Cutler with regard to the agreement, giving him the background with regard to past violations, how the agreement came to be, the status with the compliance, how Mr. Pecos did not require a written status report, and that we weren't planning on filing any written status reports. Mr. Cutler acknowledged the information explanation and did not indicate that we had to file any reports at that time. I'd like to go over Paul's letter to the board with regard to, again, items 6, 7, 8, and 9. Again, item 6 has to do with the electronic identification scanner. In Paul's letter, again, he indicates that Waxy O'Connor has purchased the electronic identification scanner at the time requested by the board. It's been on the premises and functioning properly since purchase. The scanner is updated once a month by uploading software from their vendor, Advanced ID Detection, LLC. Waxy has contracted with this company to receive monthly updates with regard to their scanner. The scanner is used at the front door on Friday and Saturday nights, and any other days or evenings where they expect large crowds, Patriots games, home games, holidays and such. At all other times, the ID is maintained behind the bar to be used by bartenders and management. When used at the front door, every patron that comes into the facility, their ID goes through the scanner. Just make sure that they're not underage. When the scanner's behind the bar, if anyone gives an out-of-state license, they also scan at that time. The staff is used to confirm, again, the identification matches the person presenting it. They're of proper age. Confirm that the ID or driver's license is in good standing. Once they're identified to be over the age of 21, staff also makes a secondary determination whether the patron can be served alcohol. If they feel they cannot, they try to take reasonable steps to arrange that person to get home safely. Item 7, with regard to tip certification training. Again, under the agreement, licensee was required to maintain tip certification for all employees and to have training done in April, October of 2013 and April, October 2014. Paul outlines when the training was held. Again, on April 16th, of 2013, there was in-house training by the licensee with regard to the rules and procedures for serving alcohol. Training and all personnel were confirmed to have tip certification. Again, on June 10th, even though it's not required under the agreement, there was another in-house training with their employees with regard to the rules and procedures. In July of 2013, Waxy O'Connor's employed Vintel
Yep.
Alcohol Control Service, which conducts weekly audits of the inventory and provides staff with necessary training with regard to measures and weights and responsible dispensing of alcohol. It was a 6-month program, which included training of staff, again, in regard to dispensing alcohol responsibly. During that time period, they did have in-house training on October 5th that was conducted by one of their representatives and the manager of record, which was Joe Lothrop. And the rules and procedures for serving alcohol as well as responsible dispensing of alcohol were reviewed. Additional in-house training was also provided to their employees on July 18th, September 10th, November 12th, and December 14th of 2013. Again, that was part of the contract with them. And during that time, again, all staff were confirmed to be tip certified. For 2014, an in-house training session for all employees was held on April 18th with regard to the rules and regulations as well as responsible alcohol dispensing, and all new staff were required to be tip certified. In June of 2014, Waxy O'Connor's group worldwide brought a new employees handbook, which had updated policies and procedures, all of their policies and procedures, which included alcohol service. The training that occurred on June 26th included a refresher course on responsible alcohol service, and there was also an alcohol service agreement, which was signed by all the staff required for their employment. A copy of the responsible alcohol service policy and the alcohol service agreement was included in your package. And again, everyone was confirmed to be tip certified. Finally, a in-house training was conducted on October 21st by the new manager, which you met last week, with regard to responsible alcohol policies and procedures. And again, all new and staff were required to be tip certified because new staff were coming on. Item number 8, with regard to the agreement concerned the security staff being employed on Friday and Saturday nights between 9 p.m. and 1:30 a.m. during special lodge events. Waxy O'Connor's employees, minimum of 2 trained security staff on Friday and Saturday nights from 9 to 1 a.m. and during all other events that draws larger than usual crowds. The police chief recommended that Paul take a crowd manager training program, which he did take, and I believe you have a copy of the crowd certificate in your packet. Finally, item number 9 had to do with the police detail. I believe in your packet there's a memo from the police chief stating that Waxy says use the police detail on the premises when appropriate and their account is up to date. Waxy constantly maintains an open dialogue with the Foxborough Police Department and hires the staff whenever required. And that is everything we've provided you with regard to compliance with that agreement.
So are there any questions about the compliance agreement? No? Okay.
Just a clerical, and thank you for putting this together. Would have been nice to have this. Do we not have a file when there's a violation that a lot of this stuff should have, and again, I'm directing it to you, and I know you're the new guy,
Yeah.
but a lot of this would have been nice to have at the last hearing when we're asking, did you do this and did you do that? Some of these are dated yesterday and today.
Right.
There's some of the stuff that's in here, it seems to be someplace
It's old
else.
stuff, yeah. Apparently, I can't speak, Deb, is there a file? The things that we had in the file, we've given you, that we had in our files. So,
Because some of this stuff has a clerk stamp on it, so we know it was received.
mhm.
I don't know if it gets from the clerk over to the selectmen. I mean, things like, here's a check, stamp,
Yeah.
clerk. It should be, the selectmen should have it.
It was stamped at the selectmen's window. I don't bring it to the clerk. I bring it to the selectmen's window, and they stamp it.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
We can't, well,
Sure, go ahead, Ginny.
Okay.
Mr. McKenna?
Yep.
mhm.
What is your function at Waxy's?
I'm one of the owners.
You're one of the owners? And Mr. Kahnbach, who's the new manager that we just approved, where is he this evening?
He's at the location.
He's working at the location, okay. I expected Mr. Kahnbach to be here tonight at the meeting.
He was scheduled to be at the location, so
Mhm.
he is at the location.
Okay, thank you.
His first day, right? It was his first day. Yes.
Frank,
Yes,
did you
sir.
want to say something?
Yeah, if there were 2 other issues that were brought up, if we're done with the agreement.
Yes.
Okay. Another issue, I believe Jim brought up, had to do with the use of scanner on Thursday nights. I think what he was referring to was at the January 22nd, 2013 hearing on the liquor license violation. Joe Lothrop, who had applied to become the manager on the liquor license, the hearing was subsequently heard in February of that year, indicated that the policy for the ID scanner was to be used on on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, and on busy nights, larger than usual crowds. And Monday through Wednesday and Sundays on typical nights, the scanner would not be used at the door but behind the bar. And that was the initial policy. Back at that time, Thursday nights was a very busy night for Waxy's, and early on, it was a very busy night. But since that time, Thursday nights aren't nearly as busy as the night of the sting indicated. There was very few customers in the bar at that night. So they determined that somebody at the door was not necessary on Thursday nights any longer, and the scanner was put behind the bar. But if a Thursday night is anticipated to be a busy night, before a holiday or something, or a Patriots night game for a Thursday night, they will have somebody at the door with the scanner. Any questions on that? Okay. And then one of the last issues had to do with regard to the sanctions for violations. At a number of hearings, the question with regard to violations and how they're used has come up. For example, at the hearing last February of this year, excuse me, with regard to the change of manager, it was brought up with the manager on the petition to be appointed at that time with regard to the strikes. And it was discussed how, at the time, it was talked about how certain strikes, what strikes were still on the books. That's how it was determined. Mark Sullivan was the chairman at that time, asked me if they came off the books after 1 year. I said, no, some of the violations had come off. Some of the violations are still there. And some of your board members reminded the applicant that because of that violation, that if anything occurs, it will not be a first violation, but it will be on top of the one within the last 3 years. Also, at your within your meeting minutes, back in March 13th, 2012, when you were talking about the rules and regulations, it specifically states that violations within 3 years would be counted. And there was an explanation with regard to a rolling drop of violations, and that 3 years would be covered. So there has been extensive discussions, and with regard to this board and members of this board that are here and were at those hearings, with regard to how the rules and regulations work and how the 3 years works, and in particular with regard to Wax's last February. And I know last February Jim did state that he had seen a change in how Waxy's had progressed in the year, that he had seen changes in the customers, the food, the community outreach, and that it was quieted down quite a bit. So we just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. I just want to ask Mr. McKenna, so looking at your alcohol service policy here, it says in there that anyone who appears under 40 years of age will be checked, have their ID checked.
Yeah.
So my question is, with that policy in place and that, you know, the fact is that someone who looked well under 40 was not checked, have you given any further consideration to carding everybody who comes in to the restaurant?
We talked about it at the last hearing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something I believe is very practical. I believe it's off-putting in a normal restaurant environment. For example, in Lexington, where we have a location, I can't imagine that being a policy.
Mm-hmm.
It would be quite detrimental to business. I believe more stricter enforcement amongst the bartenders would be a better approach as opposed to carding everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for either Frank or Mr. McKenna?
Frank, the topic of using the scanner on a Thursday night, that was in the policy, that wasn't in the agreement. Is that where that came from?
That was how they used the scanner at the time. At that time,
And you said at that time Thursday nights were a fairly busy night.
yes.
Because I just looked in the agreement, I couldn't find any mention of the use of the scanner.
Right, and they had just procured the scanner recently when we came in, because again, it was part of that agreement. So that was their expectation, was that, you know, Thursday would be a very busy night. But, you know, future showed that it wasn't, they really didn't need it. But there's nothing in the agreement with regard to how the scanner would be used. But there is in the agreement the requirement to have the scanner.
I suppose on that point, we took the approach that it's hard to become a family restaurant and have a 6'5" bouncer IDing kids on a Thursday evening, which I know that happens at Bar Louie and Place the Gap, but they're high volume. The economies of scale can mean they can afford to do that pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
For smaller establishments, it's not possible. So that's why we took the approach that on Thursday evenings it wasn't feasible.
Any other comments, questions for Frank or Mr. McKenna? Okay. All right, so at this point now, we need to start talking about the sanctions. This is viewed as a second violation within the 3-year period. So in our guidelines, it talks about us having discretion of imposing sanctions from 3 to 10 days. There are also early closing potential there. And I just wanted to come right out of the gate by suggesting that I think everybody knows I thought that 5 days was adequate for this type of violation, but compromised to 7 days in the other similar situation. So I just wanted to suggest that we discuss a 7-day sanction at this time. Ginny, do you want to start?
Well, I disagreed with you on the last one. I thought for the second violation, last time it should be 10 days. And I agree with this. I still think it should be 10 days. That's how I feel.
David?
I went back and I watched the hearing from January 22nd, and every member of the board at that time basically said, this is it. This is the last chance. And here we are again. So at a minimum, I would recommend 10 days.
John?
Yeah, I mean, I given that the look-back period is 3 years, and given that the situation was exactly the same as Skipjack's, given that both bartenders were caught in a sting and they were serving an underage operative, the sort of the evidence that we're looking back, and I'm not looking beyond that, is exactly the same. So, you know, I was right in the middle the last time, and I'm going to recommend 7 days as well for this violation.
Jim?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be odd man out again on this one. And we did look, and Frank, you've done a great job, and I agree with you that the look back is 3 years according to what we have in front of us. But I also keep going back, and we've discussed this before. There is an item right before the sanctions that says the Board of Selectmen has the ability to work outside of this if they feel it's a public safety issue. So these are guidelines, and I've said it before, and I'll repeat it. These are guidelines based on the 2 steps on this process. The first step that we had was finding of the facts, and I think we didn't talk about anything other than what happened on this last go-around, this last violation. But I think we need to talk about the other violations during this section, and I'll tell you why. You know, this is the third time that I've been at this table listening to the testimony going back and forth. And I'll tell you what bothers me. The first time, and it was before your tenure here as a council, Waxy's had hired an attorney out of Boston. And I asked a specific question was, you know, is there any other violations that are pending? I don't know how I worded it. And we were told, no, there weren't. And in fact, the state had already sanctioned violations against Waxy's for 12 days. 4 of them to be served, and I don't know if they ever served it. I think they paid a fine instead of serving it. But 8 days were to be held in abeyance. And they would disappear after 1 year if there are no other violations. So one of the first violations that they had in front of us was within that 1 year period. So when we ask council and the owners, are there any other violations, and they say no, and then to compound that on the next violation when they were in front, I remember the excuse was, well, we couldn't say anything because it was an ABCC issue. So I have very little faith that the owners are being upfront when I'm lied to at one meeting, and then the ends justify the means excuse at the next meeting. So had I had known then that there were other violations pending, and had ABCC known that we were dealing with it, but the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. And there's 8 days that were never served, as far as I know, and I can ask the question, and I don't know what the answer is going to be, but I'm pretty confident that's what the story was at that time. So then we proceed from the ABC to over-serving a situation, and then it went down for several, we negotiated it, and to minor serving. So when Waxy's is asked the question, now can you do the scanner, and they say it's not feasible, I don't think it's feasible to have a business open if they can't figure out how to scan somebody when a kid comes in and asks for a beer or a drink or 2 or 3. The police go in and they don't even take the beer, they just get served and then they walk out and they're in front of us. But when the kid sits there and gets 2 or 3 and 4, I don't take that lightly. So I put that in the category of it's a public safety issue. And unless an owner can tell us how they're going to do it, and not tell us that scanning everybody that comes in there is either an inconvenience or it's not practical, my suggestion is to rescind the license altogether, let them figure it out, and let them reapply for it when they get their act together. So and it goes back to when you're sitting at this table, and I remember the attorney says, raise your right hand to God, swear to tell the truth. An attorney says no, and then the owners back them up. The credibility is gone in my eyes. So I'm going to say rescind it, and I'm sure they're going to appeal it, and we can deal with it at that time. But I don't have any more patience for Waxy's. And Frank, I do agree. I did say that they've come a long way. I do go in there. I bring my kids in there. But I just can't do it anymore, with this situation the way it is. And it's unfortunate because it was a nice situation. It was a local pub. It was a local eating establishment. But I'm done with it. So.
All right, so any other comments?
Yeah, just one from me. Jim, on this interpretation, I know it's in there, and I gave a lot of thought to that as well, that we do have the ability to leapfrog over all of the suggested tiers. In other words, the first violation, if something is so egregious and something is, I would say deliberate and premeditated. My understanding of that is if Waxy's was selling half-gallon jugs of rum out the back door to teenagers, we could leapfrog right over that because that's criminal, okay? But this was a sting, and it was the same as skipjacks. And I don't know how you can, take the body of evidence and leapfrog over everything and come to the conclusion that you should rescind the license.
Well, it's because it's the.
I don't think it rose to that level.
It's the fourth issue that I'm dealing with one company. After they said they were going to card on Thursdays, and I understand, the Thursdays aren't busy, so they decided not to do it. But their policy was card everybody on Thursday or scan it, and they're not doing it. And this is, again, it's like Groundhog Day. And David, I remember that last meeting, everybody said, and I think, to quote Linda Walsh, take it as serious as a heart attack, and everyone says, great, but they're never going to come back, and if they come back, that's it. Please. We had people coming from home to say they're great people, but I agree, if they do it again, that's it. So that was said at the same time these violations, for selectmen to say, one more time, that's it. I don't think anyone was saying one more time a day after 3 years when the other one falls off, then that's it. That's it, in my book, that's it. And I wish they were up front with the ABCC. It was painful to sit here knowing that there was a violation going on, knowing that there were 8 days that you needed to serve, and we were lied to, period. So that's, there's gonna, and the clause that I'm hanging my hat on this, John, is.
Oh, I know the
Yeah.
clause, yeah.
And/or licensed premises where necessary to assure public safety.
Right.
And 2 times, they're not carding. I don't want to wait for the 3rd time. The other ones were over-serving, and, I haven't been a bartender, so I can't tell who's drunk there or who comes in drunk, and, but I know for a fact, if somebody comes in and they look the age that this kid looked, you ask for the ID, period. And if you can't get your act together to do that, then you set the robot up to do it, but they don't want to do that because it's not practical. So I'm not sure what other.
No, I was just trying to say, comparing where we were last week, where we gave skipjacks 7 days. How is this situation any different from skipjacks as far as a threat to public safety?
I think Skipjack's response to us was a little more forward-thinking on what they're going to do without the background that I have. I don't have the background with Skipjacks of these repeated issues, so.
But you did say they've come a long way, so there's something positive.
Oh, there is something positive. And I was hoping it would end up today that there would be a scanner, because there was a realization that how many more times is this going to happen? And whether it's the bartender's fault, or the manager's fault, or the owner's fault, we've heard all of it so far. You know, we got rid of, they got rid of an owner, they got rid of a manager, and now they get rid of a bartender. There's nothing left. Get rid of the robot, but they don't want to put the robot up there, you know, the scanner. So.
Well, you know, I think the effort is being made. It's definitely a serious situation, but I think the effort is being made to correct the problems. I think the new manager looks to be a very experienced individual who I hope will be able to reinforce, even though there's been so much training here. Again, I think it's just something that can't be reinforced enough, and having the oversight of whether it's the manager on the floor or the other bartenders to be constantly alert. If the decision is made not to card everyone coming in the door, then you do run the risk of being here in front of us again. And, you know, again, I really think that we have an obligation to work together and to try and do what's going to prevent this from happening. We need to create some type of resource that will help. You know, there are the bars or the restaurants out there that are successful every single time, and that, you know, skills perhaps can be learned from them too. And I go back to when we did redo the liquor license regulations. Ed had talked about having a group put together that was comprised of business owners and you know, members from the community and the police to come up with an approach that would be more collaborative and supportive of trying to keep these types of things from happening. So, you know, I believe the new manager clearly understands his marching orders from this board and from the owners. And again, I go to the fact that this is a second violation of this type, and I'd like to hear a motion. I'd like to hear a motion made for a sanction at this point, unless someone else has anything else they want to say.
Well, we have to come back and look at this in 6 months anyway, because we put a condition on the new manager's license.
Correct.
So, I think 10 days is adequate with a review in 6 months, and I think we should do some testing within that 6-month period.
Do you mean like sting operations?
Yep, do a compliance check within that 6-month period, and then after that 6 months, we can, if there's a failure, then we rescind.
Can I say?
Sure.
I'm a little disappointed that Mr. Kahnbach is not here. He's the new manager, and I would expect a manager to be here at a violation hearing, because we want to speak directly to the manager who will be running the establishment on a day-to-day basis. So I'm really am disappointed Mr. Kahnbach's not here. I'm looking at this as a second violation. I mean, that's the rules, that the violations roll off. So because of the rules, technically it's a second violation. You've had a very troubled past, but that's past. But I do believe that, I think a 10-day suspension is warranted. But I would like to also maybe suggest that in addition to the 10-day suspension, that from now on, the scanner is used Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Can I ask, when I said earlier the scanner isn't used all the time, I meant at the front door. It is used all the time currently,
Okay.
and has been for the last 2 years.
Well,
So do you mean at the front door or behind?
whatever, I know what Jim's concern was, and so if the front door, if it used at the front door satisfies his concern, fine. You know, that's, I would go along with whatever. I don't think rescinding right now is the way to go. I think a 10-day suspension is fine because of the roll-off. Boy, I'll tell you. You reviewed the tape. We probably all reviewed the tape from 2000, from the last hearing. It was Groundhog's Day. I'm telling you, what you said last week was exactly what you people said a couple of years ago, which is very disturbing. So I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. I think 10-day suspension and the use of the, however Jim wants to use the scanner. And next time, Mr. Kahnbach should, if he's the manager, he should be here at the meeting. I want to talk to the manager. It's nice talking to the owner, but I want to talk to the person who's running the place day to day. Okay.
So the idea is to use the scanner, you do use the scanner to check every license that you ask for, basically, is what you're saying. On Fridays and Saturdays, it's someone stationed at the front door, but on Thursdays, it's someone in another location walks to the scanner, or where's the scanner located?
Well, what happens is the scanner is behind the bar. The bartender is supposed to ask for an ID. If it's Massachusetts ID, and the person's 35 years old, it's fine. If they get an out-of-state license, or a license that they question, they then take it to the scanner behind the bar. And it can be a military ID, license from any of the states, those types of things that can go through. And the scanner is for all of the states, and it works for the military ID. When it's at the front door, again, from 9 until 1:30, or 1 o'clock, whatever, no one under age then can come in. So even if we were going to use it on Thursday nights, it probably wouldn't be until 9 o'clock. And then it wouldn't allow anyone under that age to come in, even though there may be, a family that might want to come in for a late night dinner. So that's one of the concerns also. It was on Friday and Saturday nights, coming in after 9, typically wouldn't be bringing in a family that late at that time for something to eat. So, even if you have somebody at the front door on Thursday, is there a concern? Again, if it's similar to that Thursday night, from what I got, there might have been a dozen people there. You have an employee just sitting at the front door with the scanner, with nobody really coming in. So it's, it comes down to dollars and cents that they didn't have somebody at the door at that time.
But Frank, if they'd had someone at the doors, and when that kid walked in and they took his license, they would have seen that he was underage and not let him in, and you would have passed the test. That was the whole reason you flunked the test, was because you didn't ask for ID.
Right, but if you came in an hour earlier, and we had that policy that there's going to be somebody there at 9 o'clock with a scanner, if you'd come in an hour earlier, which I'm sure he went to some places during the sting, there wouldn't have been somebody at the door. And the same result may have occurred, may not have occurred. So by setting up the scanner at 9 o'clock, and what if the individual came and said, I just want to get something to eat? Well, we'd still have to turn them away at that time if you have somebody at the door with the scanner. Because again, the scanner, when somebody's at the front door with a scanner, nobody under age is going to be allowed in. And they feel that on a Thursday night, there's a more likelihood that somebody may come in underage that just wants to come in for food, to watch a game when, the place is empty. And we don't want to lose those customers.
You know what? We're asking you to use a scanner. One of our selectmen wants to rescind your license. I think it would be very wise of you to go along with the program that the selectmen is suggesting. Just my suggestion.
Can I ask in what capacity the scanner should be used, just so it's clear? 24/7, where it should be, et cetera, just so I have a clear message to give to Mr. Carnback.
I don't know, how do you use a scanner?
And I said this at the last meeting, that the minute that we start telling you how to run your business is I think that we step into something we shouldn't be. All we want to make sure is the people are carded. And the last times you were in front of us, the last 2 times, including this one, they're not carded. So you tell us how it's going to happen. And we're suggesting a scanner. If it doesn't work, fine, but I don't think it's our say to put it, at the bar or put it at 8 o'clock versus 7 o'clock.
The scanner
And that's
will-
why I don't know how to deal with it. So I'm saying rescind it and,
I would say, there's a lot of answers to that.
Mm.
I would say more responsibility on the person who actually served the drink would be a big incentive not to do it. A lot of times it's a punished as crime for them. So that would be one suggestion of mine to fully enforce that going forward. Would be to put more accountability on the person who actually served the drink. Was that it wouldn't have happened if that person was going to be penalised in the same extent that the ownership is penalised.
so the current bartender is penalized, other than being fired, he's,
Probably employed somewhere else, making the same, if not more money, in another establishment. We can't discriminate against a bartender after.
I
they-
thought you were saying, maybe I misunderstood, I thought you were saying you were taking corrective act, or different actions against the bartender. You're saying moving forward, but not what just happened?
Bartender was fired on the spot. My suggestion would be that stricter penalties against that person before. Obviously, it's looking back now, but that would be one way. But I would say would be better going forward to stop this from happening. Again, that's just my suggestion.
Stiffer penalties by the town? Or what do you mean?
It's not my place to say what that is. But the question was posed to me, what do we need to do to stop this happening? I'm simply saying that my opinion is some more balance in the punishment to the holder of the licence and the person who served the drink would probably stop this from happening going forward.
What's the one thing you could have done that could have prevented this? The one thing that could have been done to prevent this?
I don't know. The person who served the drink was bachelor's and master's educated, had worked in the industry all his life, was a fully salaried manager, tip certified, intelligent, bright. I don't have that answer.
The one thing that could have been done, that should have been done to prevent this was, can I see your ID?
That's it.
That happens, we're not here. So you guys need to figure out how you get your bartenders and your servers to say, can I see your ID? It's that simple. You don't need a scanner to do that. Just ask the simple question. And whether it's 40-year-old, 30-year-old, 20-year-old, it's immaterial. That's up to you. But you got to ask the question. I mean, punishment here, punishment there. Just ask the question. It's an inconvenience. I don't see it as an inconvenience. If my license is in peril, damn right I'll ask the question. I'll have every one of my staff ask the question. But that's up to you guys to decide.
We want to take a crack at a motion?
Sure.
Okay.
Just one other thing on the discussion, I don't know how the board feels about this. Again, I was on my own on this one. Recently, they put a highway sign to direct traffic from 95 down to the establishment. And at the time, I voted against that because I said it's too early, because they just had a violation. Let's give it some time, and the board move forward with that. I would like that sign removed. There's been a lot of complaints about it. And I think to put that sign to grab more traffic off of 95 with a new manager and all of this stuff going on, I don't know how the board feels or if it's overstepping. That's not what we're here to talk about tonight, but I think that should be a consideration as well.
Do you mean taking down the sign permanently or just taking down temporarily? Because that, I mean, they've paid, Waxfield, in any establishment that applies to the state for those signs, they pay for that.
Oh, I understand.
And
I
it's
understand.
very expensive. It used to be $10,000. I don't know what it is now, but years ago it was 10. I mean, it's pretty hefty. And the reason we okayed that was because we tried to be supportive of the business. We tried to work with you to be supportive. And we did get some concern about it. So is your suggestion to have it taken down permanently or taken down just temporarily to see how things go?
Until they start carding people properly. I don't know what it's going to take 6 months from now when the manager comes in and it's a success story, or 5 months when there's another violation and we say, we're glad we did. I don't know at this point. I don't know.
Well, I think we have to continue to be supportive of the business. They're, again, they're pleading their case in front of us that they are working to make things correct. We have to give them the opportunity to do that. I think we should give them the opportunity to do that. We don't have to, obviously, but I think we should support the business, and I don't, personally, I don't have the appetite for doing anything to remove that sign, because I just don't see it connected to what we're trying to deal with here, which is, I think, a huge education process, basically, obviously resulting in a potentially bad public safety situation for us. So, again, I think we need to move forward, put some faith into the new manager's approaches, and if it works, they won't be in front of us again.
I just had a question. Frank, I know you were involved in the process of getting the sign up there. Is there any regulations in regard, by the state, in regard to keeping the sign up? I mean, can you keep the sign until, like, you have a violation or something? Do you know if there's any?
I don't think there was any, but I couldn't guarantee it. I'm not sure of that. Do you know of any, Paul?
No.
I can't speak on that per se. There's none that I know of. That doesn't mean there
Can you look it
isn't.
up? Could you check on that for us?
Sure. So
I'm saying, like, does the state say you can have the sign as long as the road commissioners approve it? You can have the sign. However, if there's a violation, the sign, we have the right to take the sign down.
the state or the town?
Well, it would be the state, wouldn't it?
Okay.
Excuse me, Dave
David?
wanted to say something.
How are you?
Evening.
I'm not sure that I have a clear answer, Ginny, on that, but I'm going to go on instinct a little bit. The sign was permitted by your board or commissioners that control signs based on a criteria that may range from safety to appearance. So you had a hearing and you approved it on that basis. If there's a connection between the sign, the location of the sign, the use of the sign, the purpose of the sign, and your active discipline or disposition, well then, there's a nexus there. Otherwise, my recommendation would be to, if the action of this against the sign makes sense, to hold a hearing relative to the sign and whether or not the sign can be an effective tool in the discipline and disposition of the case. So unfortunately, I think to do it right would be to hold a hearing in your capacity as the sign commissioner.
commissioner.
Yes.
Okay, I'll try the motion.
All right.
Given that Waxy O'Connor's has been cited with a second violation in 2 years, I move that the Board of Selectmen suspend their operating or their liquor license for 7 days to be served within the next 60 days, with 2 of those days being weekends.
Second. Discussion?
I don't think 7 days is enough with the history. I think it is a second violation. We should, because of the history, we should do the max within our guidelines, and that would be 10 days. They're gonna be back here within 6 months, on the license anyway, and I think we keep them on a short leash.
What you could do, David, is we can vote on this, you can vote against this, and then you can propose another time.
Oh, we can amend the motion, because I think 10 days is warranted, not 7 days.
So just to go back through the, again, for the ABCC, there was 12 days handed out for over-serving.
What was the date of that?
That was 2010.
Okay.
So 12 days, again, 8 was held in abeyance. In 11, there were 3 instances, and we got 10 days. Last year, there was serving to a minor, and there was a 16-day suspension
That was 2 years ago.
in 2013. September 2012, and we served in
Right.
January of 13.
Do you have any thoughts on days, Jim?
I
You're
don't
at
want to
vacation.
keep boring people.
Jim
Okay.
wants them all.
All right.
I'm out of that game.
Okay, well, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Okay, so it's 2 to 3. Have another motion?
All right, I'll take a crack at 10 days, hold on.
Right.
All right, given that Waxy O'Connor's has been cited with a second violation in 2 years, I move that the Board of Selectmen suspend their liquor license for 10 days to be served within the next 60 days, and I'll change this to be 3 days to be weekends.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Do we want to talk about a scanner or anything? Is that off the table?
I think they're.
I agree with Jim, and let them run their business.
Okay.
If
All right.
they can't get that right, it's, you know,
Yeah, they can't get that right.
I think
then.
we can't micromanage how they're gonna
Yep,
operate.
okay. No problem.
Ever heard that before, John?
I know, yeah.
Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 3 to 2. So 10 days, if you would let Bill Keegan know the dates.
Just for clarification, 2 of the days have to be,
No.
Three of the
Three.
days.
3,
Have to be
On
weekends.
weekends.
3 have to be weekends? And can they have to be one lump? Can they be split up?
It's your choice. That's how we handled it before.
Ju-
Okay.
Just to be clear for the record, the weekends meaning Friday or Saturday night.
Yep.
Mm,
Okay, so it could be 10 sporadic days, or 10 and 1,
Yeah, within the next 60.
3. Within 60 days from,
What's that 5-day
It's
elimination
60
period?
days from tonight, I believe, was the
Wasn't there
actual.
like a 5-day
That's how we
elimination
handle it.
period, or?
That's for an appeal.
That's for an
Appeal,
appeal.
okay.
Written notification.
And Frank, you're not gonna appeal, right?
Unfair question at the table.
Well, no.
unfair, but
Yeah.
no. Could we just have it until the end of February to make it easier for us to pick the days?
I don't have a problem with that.
So it'll be February 28th, in this case?
10 days with 3.
Okay, I
Friday or
can,
Saturday.
I don't know if you want another motion, but I can actually amend it to be the end of February. That's,
I don't know if the
75
60
days.
days was within the motion or not. I don't
It
remember
was.
doing
It was.
Okay.
Is there consensus that, given that we're asking for an additional weekend date and 3 additional days, that we can give them till the end of February?
I'm okay with that.
I am, are you?
Just out of, for consistency, I mean, we've had 9 violations and it's been 60 days. Here's a whole slew of stuff getting to this point,
Yeah,
and now it's closer to 90 days
I-
because of,
I
I
don't
don't
know
get it.
why we're making all these accommodations for Waxy. It
think
should be
it's-
60 days, just like everybody else.
I think it's closer to 70 days, right?
Well, there's 14 left in December, so it's 74 days.
74 days.
No, I think we should, everybody else, we've done 60 days, within 60 days.
I know, but I think everybody else, we also did 7 days for the same violations.
Well, but this is a second violation.
Right. That's
So-
what I mean.
so
So is
skip
so
tax.
is skipjacks.
Yeah.
Do we forward you the days and you approve them at the next meeting? And when is your next meeting?
It's not till January 5th or 6th.
What we've done in the past is we can continue leave this open. If you want to go in the hall and come back before the end of the night, we can give you the days if it saves you on the aggravation.
Well, the point I was just gonna make is, you'll approve the days as of January something. 60 days from that would bring you to the end of February. So if we decide on some days between now and then, we won't be able to use those days. That was just my point.
Oh, I see. So you name days before we actually
Mhm.
come up with a
Right.
Because we won't be
decision,
meeting
yeah.
for another 2 weeks.
But
Right.
I guess my point was if you wanted to name the days now, then we could vote on it now and then just save the aggravation of an extra meeting and the paperwork.
You want to come back in?
Yeah, but the other ones, they didn't actually all
One we
name-
did, Tavolino's, they met in
Yeah,
the
they
hallway and
did.
came up, yeah.
Mhm.
But, as far as, as long as you get the 10 days, 3 of them are Friday or Saturday, within 60 days, we don't really have to approve the actual days, do we?
We
You
had
just have
them.
to approve 10 days, 3 days being Friday or Saturday, within 60 days. And then you can come up, you can let us know what they are, just so on record we'll know what days are.
Okay.
For the record.
Is that right?
All right.
I think
It's
that's
just
true.
that your next meeting's in 3 weeks,
Mhm.
so.
All right. So if you just want to submit the list then to Bill, it'll be on file. We can ask what they are.
Right.
And we'll
I
have
can
the
report to you,
formality
for
of
instance,
just approving
Skipjack
it.
has given us notified their days, and I'll let you know tonight about that, so.
Okay.
You want to go in the hall?
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. All right. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is Town Council RFP.
Did Dave want to talk about the skipjack stays at a time so we could?
Dave?
He doesn't have to stay around?
I have, Dave has communicated to me that Skipjacks has, this isn't, doesn't require further action, but they've notified us that Thursday, December 25th, Thursday, January 1st, Friday, January 2nd, Monday, January 5th, Friday, January 23rd, and Sunday, February 1st, and Monday, February 2nd are the days that they've asked us to, they wanted to serve.
Right, so we've already drafted a decision, it's ready to go. Drop those dates in, that decision can go out tomorrow.
But also, didn't you want to talk to us about the change, the Renaissance in Lafayette had changed
Yes,
that?
I know there was-
Those are actually on action items tonight.
Right, but I
Steve?
thought you wanted to be here? That's from
Yeah,
what Deb
it'd be
said.
helpful, only to close the loop on that. My understanding is that there's been a request to modify the dates that were imposed, and that was the one case, if you recall, where there was a notice of an appeal, and there was no suggestion from Renaissance on the dates, so we picked the dates that were consistent with one of the other license holders. Subsequently, we've heard from Renaissance that they have reconsidered their position on the appeal, and if we were able to adjust the dates by, I think, one day, then it would resolve the matter.
It
So that-
actually moves the day from January 12th to January 6th, so it actually moves up the suspension.
Yeah, so that's the one adjustment that they were looking for, and would resolve the problem we have with that case.
Okay. And the same thing for Lafayette House?
Oh, Lafayette, that's right, he came to us with another suggestion.
In-
There's been no appeal filed in that case, and they're looking to adjust a day, I guess based upon their review or re-review of their event calendar. They're asking for a different day than what was imposed.
They've asked for a move from January 12th to February 2nd.
February 1st.
I think it's second, Jane.
February 2nd,
No,
is
Sunday,
I
February
got
1st.
February 1st on that letter.
what- Yeah, okay, with
Sunday,
typo, the
February
typo
1st.
in our notice here, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's February 1st.
So we need,
I mean, do you want to just take care of this during, I know you wanted to take care of it before you left, but.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
We
so
can just vote on these for
Yeah,
action, during
that'd be
action items?
Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
Didn't want you to have to stay here longer than
Well, that's all right,
necessary.
I'm gonna confer with the folks outside, maybe, I think they'll come back and
Okay.
maybe resolve the issue we have there.
Great. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, so our next item is a discussion on the town council RFP. Sandra, you want to come up? So I invited Sandra here this evening under the guise of asking her opinion about she has worked with at least 3 of the town councils that we're considering. But really, the reason I wanted her to come here is we don't want your opinion, Sandra.
Nobody wants my
No.
opinion.
I just wanted to acknowledge that tonight is the last Selectmen's meeting that Sandra will be working for the town of Foxborough.
And we knew that if we told you that, you wouldn't come.
You would never come, right? So,
Actually, I would have. I would have.
no.
I would have.
But you would have been screaming the whole way, and we didn't want to hear that.
No, probably crying.
So,
Probably crying.
just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge Sandra's service to the town. Almost 30 years. She started off with a toothbrush in the bathrooms.
Some days, yeah, some days, oh,
We got a nice
Worked.
little token
Oh, my
of appreciation
goodness.
from the board, and so.
thank you so much.
From all of us.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Worked for, wait a minute, tell me just a little story. So, first adventure in the Selectmen's office was with Andy Galla, right?
Huh.
For a long, long time.
Right.
Kevin Pecos, and now
Mhm.
Bill.
Mhm.
And Sandra's been there all along through many a storm,
Thick and thin.
thick and thin, yep. And most of us are getting thicker. But just wanted to say how much we appreciate everything that
Thank
you've
you.
done for the town.
Thank you.
And thank you again. And you'll be
Um,
missed.
Thank you. I'm going to miss you all.
Mm.
You know, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Who are you looking at?
I kind of did a scan. It was a scan.
I think
And on which point, good, bad, and all the ugly? It was like-
You know, it's really been an honor for me. I was trying to figure out the other night how many board members I've worked for. I got up to 31 between being in the Board of Health for 18 years and then in the Selectmen's office. And every time I went through the list, I was adding another person. So I'm like, oh, that's not a good idea. I'll probably forget somebody. You know, it's been challenging at times. It's been fun at times. I've made great associations through the years, wonderful friends. Between the businesses and the citizens, that's been my true passion and true love. I learned 30 years ago from a very wise man in the Board of Health when we had no health agent and it was just me. You know, he always said to me, we're here to educate, not to regulate. You know, when that doesn't happen, you're not doing your job, Sam. So, you know, that was my start. That's how I got my feet wet. And, you know, through the years, I think I've grown. I've had the privilege of working with many attorneys, and I really wanted to talk about them tonight because, you know,
No, we're not gonna let
they've
you.
been my great teachers. And the ABCC, the attorney we had there was just, he was phenomenal. He never just gave me the answer. He quoted the law, and he's like, are you writing it down so that, you know, when the issue comes up, you're going to know what the law is? So, you know, I've been educated a lot through the years. It's been a joy. It's just been a total joy. I love my job. It's time. I'm proud of Deb. I'm proud of Deb. I can't tell you how I feel about working with her. And I know that Mary Beth and Bill are just going to be phenomenal for our town, and they're going to step in. And, it's time for a new team, and I understand that, and I support that, and I wish you all the best, because I still live in this town. It's still my town. I raised my children here. I'm raising a grandchild here. It means more to me. My friends are here. I'm joining the garden club, and I'm excited about that. And, I'm kind of thinking about working with our restaurants and all of our liquor license holders to bring back their organization. I think it's a place I could be useful and helpful. So I'm not going away, but it's time. It's really time. And I thank you all. I thank you all. I think of all the board members I've worked with through the years. I mean, Bert Delaney calling me on the phone and saying, give me the history. And Tony LaChapelle, with, where everybody's buried and everything's buried, tell me the background. So, it's been an honor, a true honor. And I thank you all because, you come here every Tuesday night, or it used to be every Tuesday, now it's every other Tuesday. And I know that there's a lot that goes on in between. I see that. I know that. I get the phone calls, I hear the questions, I hear the comments, and I applaud you. I applaud you for, even if your opinions are totally the opposite, I applaud you for giving your time to do this for a town that I love and will continue to love and call my home. I have no plans on leaving. So I thank you all. I thank you for the flowers. The staff at the town hall are the best. They're the best. I hope they're valued through the years. I hope you see in them what I see in them. Not just the interaction that I watch every day at Lisa's office with the taxpayers that come in that are like, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's hard not to take it personally and understand they're not upset with us. And I watch how they just give their all and give their best. And I hope that you see in that what I see. And, I thank Lise for my little dancing every day in the past couple of weeks. And Deb, Deb's been like here and there and everywhere and off the walls. And I love you from the bottom of my heart. You're the best thing that's ever happened to us.
Don't leave that.
You work harder than anybody I know. I've never met anybody with a work ethic like Deb has. And I hope you'll take advantage of that, but not too much. Give her a little bit of break right now. She's going to be alone. It's going to be hard. So I thank you all. Thank you from the
we
bottom of my
appreciate-
heart.
Thank you, Sandra.
And Frank, you
Sandra.
too. Thank you. Thank you. She keeps getting me, this Lisa person. She got me again. Thank you. Do you want me to talk about council?
No.
I will tell you one thing. They've all been real gentlemen.
Great.
Real
Yeah,
gentlemen.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, well, that's coming up. It's leaking a little bit in the bottom, so just be careful.
Let me help the old lady.
All right. Thanks,
All
Sam.
right.
Gotcha.
All right, so, for real, we're going to talk about the town council RFP. So, everyone's had the opportunity to read through all the information, and thanks, John, for the grid and the
And the humor.
humor. For Dewey
Cheatham and Howe.
Cheatham and Howe is one of the firms that didn't apply, right? So,
I had one question for Bill before we get going.
Yep.
Sure.
Bill, when I put this together, and correct me if I'm wrong, but on the law firm of Koppelman and Page,
Yep.
I actually went through, and there was a sort of a self-reporting experience rating. It asked for a 1, 2, or a 3. And my recollection is that they put in a lot of 1s. And then I think I ran into you somehow, and you said, oh, they're one of the most experienced law firms in the state.
Right.
And I was wondering, did I get it right, or did they come back with more information, or is that what they reported?
No, I just know them from experience, personal experience, that they're probably one of the most they probably represent the greatest number of communities in the Commonwealth. I think they have the greatest number of clients in terms of cities and towns.
I noticed that
Yeah.
too, and
Yeah.
I think what they did, John, was I think they listed 4 attorneys, and each one gave its own individual experience rating.
Yeah.
So it started with the least experienced and went up to the most, so you'll see some of the attorneys' experience ratings were in the 3s.
I took it as those were the attorneys that were going to be assigned to Foxborough.
But I think there's an individual page per attorney, whereas some of the firms did a compilation of all their experience on that one page. I think there were probably 4 pages for Copeland and a page on their experience.
Okay.
I
I
did
just
the
want to
same
clarify
thing.
that maybe, had they realized they may have made a mistake and sent in some different information.
I think they did one for each attorney, and that's what made it different.
Okay.
Because I also added up the experience ratings for each one and found that I had to do an average because they listed them all.
Okay.
Right, so I just wanted to give the public some information about what we are actually considering in the RFP that went out. This is some of the information that we asked to be provided with and have received. Identifying the name of who will be the town council for Foxborough, who will be their backup counsel. They've attached resumes for all of their attorneys who we could work with. They have provided information on minimum bar admission requirements, all of the municipalities that they've represented, their experience with municipal law in general, how accessible they are, what they would do for backup, given details on their billing proposals, and how they will deliver cost-effective client services. Talked about, fees and expenses in detail, given us examples of their invoicing approaches, resumes, landmark cases that they've litigated, and just a general copy of a billing statement so we could see how that worked. John has actually provided us with a grid that we had the opportunity to use just to organize the information for review. And the last time we spoke, we talked about coming back with what each of us thought would be our top 3 that we would be interested in interviewing as a next step. So,
I want just to add that on the interim basis, we'll do further checking with other internal agencies to see what experience they've had with those top 3.
okay. So tonight, we're looking to come to consensus on the top 3.
What those 3 are.
Okay. So, anyone would like to start?
I don't speak at once.
So I looked at, obviously, experience as a key factor. The number of attorneys on staff who would actually act as backup, whether it was just going to be a single attorney or it was going to be actual whole law firm. Looked at cost structure, obviously is very important. In doing that, I came up with just go through the ratings.
Sure. Yep, just 1 through 3. Yeah.
I came up with Lewison, Costello, Condon, and Pfaff as number 1, Blattman, Bobrowski, and Mead as number 2, and Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and Lehane as number 3.
Okay.
Let me read off mine. Actually, Dave, you're brilliant, because I had Lewis, Costello, Condon, and Pfaff as number 1, Murphy, Hess, Toomey, and Lehane as number 2, and Blattman, Borowski, and Mead as number 3.
Okay.
I just went back through the couple-minute page and checked, and I am right that there's a lot of 1s and 2s in the primary attorney that they were going to assign to us.
Jim?
So, yeah, I also obviously went through the list, and in my business, I've ran into a lot of these firms and know their reputation. Kind of what I'm looking for in an attorney, in general, not size-wise, more of attorneys that have the ability to, or counsels that have the ability to counsel, rather than take a selectman's direction and just run with it. I was at a hearing representing a client last night where it's gonna come down to one board suing the other board in the same town. And it was so avoidable if the attorney had the ability to put the two together and explain it, not from a legal sense, but from a practical sense, and then sprinkle it with the legal. In a situation where there's so much conflict and different things going on, those personal skills, and the ability to look past the selectmen to what the issue is and then back to the selectmen is big. A lot of these firms had applied last time as well, so we had, it was interesting if you look at the billing rates this year to what they did a couple of years ago. They've all gone up. No one's come down. Long story short, similar to what you guys had, I had Murphy through Lehane as number 1. I actually had Kopelman and Page as 2, and then Brabowski as number 3. And the reason is because of Tallerman. I like his style, and I followed him through the years. So those would be my 3.
Okay. Jeannie?
Some of these, like Jim said, some of these officers had applied before, and I actually saved my notes from a few years ago when I was able to review the notes. And there were ones that I eliminated the first time around a couple of years ago, and I did the same thing for the same reasons. The Mr. Lewison's, the Lewison firm, I felt that they seemed like they were good attorneys, but they didn't seem like they had municipal experience in my mind. Kopelman and Page, I think, is probably very good, but it's a big firm. I don't know, I just don't like the idea of like a firm like that dealing with us. Petrini is, I was impressed by them, but most of them are Kopelman and Page former employees. My number 1 choice was the Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and Lehane. They were my number 2 choice the last time around. But it was interesting when I was reading the information this time, I'm looking at with eyes of an experienced selectman for 2.5 years, and I really had an idea of what I was looking for. And I just found that Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and Lehane, it just jumped out that they were exactly what we need in regard to like depth, experience. They listed the things that they had been working on at other towns: development of malls, liquor legislation, sign bylaws, insurance coverage and policies, TIFs, public lands for other uses. I mean, it's just everything that we seem to be dealing with. We've dealt with the past, we're dealing with now, or we probably will be dealing with in the future. So that's the one I really like. I mean, if I had to, do I have to include 2 more? Because
That was the goal, was to try and get 3 in here for
Three
interviews.
from everybody?
For interviews.
Yeah, and we can add
Interviews.
up the scores too.
Yeah, we'll add up the scores afterwards,
Oh.
to see how
Across
they,
the
how they all
board.
rank.
I mean, I just think they were just so outstanding. That would be my choice. But,
Okay.
but you want me to give you 2 more?
Mhm.
Oh, well, I thought point-wise, Deutsch Williams, I know I have a history with us, but as far as experience, I thought they were the next experience. And then I'd throw in, I really don't have a third.
You want me to read mine again so you can pick one?
But I'll do Petrini. Well, I suppose I'd do Petrini. I mean,
Just a minute, yeah.
only because they were, they're located in,
Yeah,
I think they
just-
said they were
do
in
you have the
Framingham or
dates?
something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not Boston, and they seem experienced too. Although I didn't like their retainer.
Thanks.
I really like Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and Lehane.
All right, so
She picked Petrini.
I picked as my first choice, to no one's surprise, Deutsch Williams. I felt that they represented the town very well in the past. Paul Durensis has been a super lawyer for at least 11 years. That's nominated by his peers as one of the best in this area of law in the state. So he brings a wealth of experience. They were very successful in litigation for the town, and I thought really gave a lot to the town at a time that we were going through difficult situations. They were very helpful during the casino process, and so they were my number one choice. A close second is Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and Lehane. Again, I think their experience, they represent towns that have extensive development: Norwood, Natick, Bedford, Attleboro, Situate. You know, I think that they very much would be able to meet Foxborough's needs from a legal standpoint, and I have been very impressed by David DeLuca's work for the town, so very close second on Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and Lehane for me. And my last choice was Lewis and Costello. They don't represent that many towns. They are assistant in Marblehead. They do Mashpee, Blackstone, and Uxbridge, but very impressive skill set in terms of, again, successes in litigation and the broad fields that they covered. So, so I would have been Deutsch Williams 1, Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, Lehane 2, and Lewis and Costello 3.
Okay, so from a tally perspective, it looks like Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, Lehane is the top vote getter collectively. But Blackburn, Bobrowski, and Mead is the second highest, and Lewis and Costello is the third. So those are your three finalists, if you will, for consideration. So we will proceed from here to further investigation on their work, and then move to set up hearings or interviews, if you will, in January.
Right. We made a special date for the 27th.
27th
Yep.
to set up those dates. Okay. And we will notify the others that we appreciate their interest, but they made the cut. So.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job with the spreadsheets.
Are you going to be collecting questions for us to be? Okay,
Yes.
so I can just send them, should I
You
send
wanna
them to you?
me? Yeah,
Okay.
you wanna send me interview
If
questions?
there are any interview questions that any particular board member would like to ask, please send them to Mary Beth, and she's going to do a
We'll do an interview script.
do an
I'll
interview
s-
script for that.
I'll see if I have a copy from our last go-around, too.
Last time,
All
that'd be
right.
great. And then I'll also email the boards and committees for feedback,
Great.
too.
Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the discussion about potential articles to consider for the upcoming annual town meeting in May. We wanted to get an early start on this discussion, and there has been a tally sheet, running tally sheet. I think it's in our packet.
Madam Chair, before, if you, just to point out that they have reached dates on the date, when they want to serve the 10 days.
Okay.
Would you like to
Yes.
have that heard before you
Yeah.
proceed?
Can't find it.
We've picked 10 days. But we'd like to re-review the days after January 6th and possibly change them to double-check functions. But right now, the days are December 24th, 25th, and 26th, which is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. January 5th and 6th, which is Monday, Tuesday. January 12th and 13th, which is a Monday, Tuesday. January 19th, which is a Monday. And February 6th and 7th, which is a Friday, Saturday. So the first 5 days are definite. And we'd just like to double check the remaining 5. Just for the board's information, what Paul intends on doing is the 3 December days are just going to be closed. The remaining days, they're going to stay open, no alcohol service, just food and non-alcoholic beverages. They want to stay open so that if someone wants to come in for food, just so the board is aware of that. That's their plan now. If that changes, we'll let you be aware of that too.
Okay, appreciate that, thank you.
Okay?
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So we have a list of warrant articles that have been added to, since we started tallying this, and recently Ginny and I were at a planning board meeting, and they have a number of articles that they'll be bringing forward. Ginny, do you remember the topics on them? I don't remember.
I forget, I had something to do with zoning.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Well, so there'll be.
Those are included in number 5, those are
Yeah,
plain
so-
go down.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember if there were like 2 or 3, but one of them was going to be pretty
At least 3.
substantial. Yeah.
Well, one would be the sign. The sign.
Well, the
billboards.
signs on here, yeah. But they had a couple of others. So, I guess for starters, are there any additional topics that anyone wants to put out there?
Bill, have you been contacted by Water and Sewer in regard to a warrant article for the sewer, amending the legislation for the sewer district?
I have not.
Because
no.
they were talking about that. I usually go to the meetings, and they were talking about that one meeting. And I suggested that they notify you if they were thinking of doing a warrant article just to get on the list.
Mhm.
So.
I can check with them on it.
Yeah, you might want to check with
Sure.
them, yeah.
Okay, so the first item, revised general bylaws, section 2, paragraph 3. Can you tell us which one that is, Bill? Beats me.
Yeah, what was that issue? General bylaws. We can look it up.
Haven't committed them to
Online.
memory
It's
yet.
Actually, we probably have it online.
Still have time.
Well, let's pass it quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's a
We'll
good
move on to
one.
that, move on. We'll
Yeah,
come back to that
okay.
one.
So this second one is a carry forward, the stabilization fund for the Southeastern Regional
We'll
School.
deal with that as part of the budget.
And do we
process.
have a choice on that? We don't have a choice on that.
They were
right?
asking
This
us to do that, right,
Yeah.
to put that out
Yeah,
there.
remember the night Steve Wooten came in, he was explaining it.
we didn't, we took it under advisement.
Right.
Um,
You're not required to put it on your warrant. It's your choice
Mhm.
when it comes to a special. But I think for an annual, I think you
Sure.
really have to put it on.
Okay.
And what from what I can remember, this just allows them to set up a stabilization fund.
Correct.
It
They-
doesn't cost the town any
Mhm.
extra money or.
There's no
Okay.
money in earmarked for it at this point,
Yep.
is my understanding.
So as we talk, well, we don't know what number 1 is, but as we talk about these, can we talk about who on the board can work potentially on finding out more information about these. For example, the additional liquor licenses. Ginny, I know that you had done some initial legwork on that with the planning board. Could you pursue that with
Right, yeah,
the
I don't mind
nodes?
I don't mind doing that. Working with Sharon
Yes.
in the planning, to see if, if we do come up with something.
John, you take the general bylaw?
Yep. I'll find out what it is.
That's all right.
Okay,
Number
that's a
one.
good start.
Issue number one.
Now, the next one, the personnel wage bylaw classification review. Is that
It-
something that you think will be ready?
I do. We are meeting Wednesday, right after your meeting. We're meeting January 7th. And because the steelworkers have organized, we now have so few people under the bylaw, so we're going to have fewer titles. We're going to come up with a compensation plan for that. And then we have some really low-hanging fruit, like some general changes that can be made pretty easily as far as bylaws go. And then the more meatier things, we've sort of talked about every member on the wage committee taking an item. So, for example, one of those would be the tuition policy. That needs to have some tweaking. There are a lot of things that were just title changes, town manager versus personnel wage board versus HR director. So we have some really, we can definitely have some substantial changes for that. And then the bigger things, I think the committee members are gonna dig deeper and each take on a piece of that.
And knowing that AdCom will want an opportunity to really look at this closely because it's the first time it's being changed in a long time, I think it'll be important to coordinate with them to make sure that they have adequate notice.
And we have Tom Freeman on
Great.
wage board, so he's actually gonna take an active role, so he'll be sort of the conduit between the two groups, so.
Great.
But we'd love to have a member of the Board of Selectmen join us.
I can take that one as well.
Good.
Great. Thanks, John. Gary, did you have any thing to add about the personal wage bylaw? Okay. Thanks.
Gary, how long was I on that board? 14 years? How long was I on personnel wage?
You?
Yeah. Long time. Yeah. I'll dive back in briefly.
We're gonna get it right this time.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely.
All right. So planning board articles, we'll need to hear more from,
Gary, do you remember what the planning board articles, that
I'll show you the exact ones now.
you were paying as much attention as we were, hey?
No, I've been over 100 times, but there's so many that we threw away too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mistake.
yeah, okay.
okay. So we can find out from Sharon what they are and how many, and then maybe divvy those up at our next meeting. Anyone in particular interested in the planning board articles?
Yeah, I don't mind doing
Jim?
that, but if they're sponsoring it, do we need to tack on a town selectman on it? We don't usually do
Oh,
that, do
actually,
we?
no. You're right. But I think maybe just being a
Just a
liaison.
Yeah, that's fine.
That'd be great.
Liaison, yeah.
All right, thanks.
My pleasure.
I'll do the continuation of the billboard, the sign bylaw updates, and work with Sharon on that. Probably
this-
the first step is I want to make sure that that last group of revisions have made it to the attorney for review, so that we can make sure that we do any additional tweaking that needs to happen separate from the discussion around digital billboards, because that will be
Right.
the focus of the next.
That's fine, we'll check on the status of that.
Okay.
But I think, I've also heard back from the business community as well that there is interest in forming a group that would actually like to participate in that process. So I think that's gonna require a little bit more reaching out, if
Okay.
that's what the group is so inclined to do
Yeah.
that, to have more input direct input onto that process.
Okay, I can, why not, I'll set up a meeting, and maybe if you can come and we can talk about that some more.
Sure. Yeah.
Great. Thanks. Constables, general bylaw change. This is one I think that Sandra and the chief had started working on, some changes to this.
Was it
and,
to limit the number of constables?
I think there were a whole number of things that, as they looked at it,
Hmm.
needed work on, so
Right.
I'm not sure who the chief would work with now, with Sandra.
Was there anybody on the
Exit.
board that served in understanding this issue in the past?
I don't even know what the
They-
issue is.
They were just
Yeah.
starting to look at this one section.
Yeah, I think there's an
On
issue
the
about how
topic.
many constables you have and, you know, how they become constables. I can tell you that there's a whole set of regulations that Dedham had with respect to that, I can certainly get access to.
Mhm.
I can take a look at it if you want to.
Yeah, we'll take a look at
In the
it
absence
from
of
an
Sandra, I
internal,
can
internal
jump in
staff
if you
issue.
want.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, that would be good.
All right.
So then there's the question about amending the legislation of the sewer district. And
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know they talked about it, but, you know,
that would be sponsored by
it
the
would
water
be
and
like,
sewer.
it'd be like tweaking it.
Right.
Mhm. So if you could be like Jim, the liaison for that,
Oh,
maybe,
Yeah.
since you attend the
Okay.
meetings, Jenny.
And I'll reach out to them and ask
Okay.
what the status is.
Now being December, we've got April, well, actually May for this. I don't see the town hall on this. David, is the schedule of design and going out for bids
We-
in that schedule, I thought that was supposed to coincide with May.
No, it's gonna be a special town meeting
Yeah,
in
around
fall.
September.
In the
So,
fall.
okay.
Yeah. Timeline, we wouldn't be ready. We
So it's
talked
fall.
about that, we
Okay.
wouldn't be
Yeah.
ready for that, the annual. So we're looking at the fall.
And then my other thought on the liquor licenses, my feeling is it's a big task between now and April to wrap it up to get on to May town meeting. You know, is it 1, is it 10, is it meetings? Last time we had talked about meeting with the planning board and getting their input, the business communities, the things like that. I just don't underestimate the time.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
think-
that's why it's not set in stone that we would have anything.
Hmm.
I mean, we have the mechanism, all, you know, that stuff. It's just a matter of checking with the planning board, and we talked about asking, you know, talked about providing liquor license for certain nodes, as they call it, you know, specific, like the town of Mansfield did.
Mhm.
They had, they just actually got their licenses by the legislation, and it's for specific areas.
Sure.
And so that's the things that we were gonna talk about. The mechanism is easy, it's just, you know, it's just what you wanna do, you know, and is this the right time to do it? You know,
And I think also why are we doing it in the
Right.
presentation to get buy-in if
right.
that's the way
I
that we
mean,
wanna
one of
go.
the things we've always talked about was development of the downtown area, with the idea of you know, selling off the old fire station. Well, if the old fire station doesn't sell right away or whatever, or would it be best to have everything in place in order to make the fire station more attractive? You know, I mean, there's
Yeah.
issues that we've all been thinking about.
Right,
And the
right.
planning board has also been thinking about it.
Right.
So that's the
'Cause
things we're gonna,
They raised that it was more important to have the sewer available to that property than it was to have a liquor license
Right.
available to make
So-
it desirable.
you know.
Mhm.
But I think it's good planning to have everything lined up, ready to go, you know, because if you're ready to go, then the opportunity will come to you,
Mhm.
you know, so.
So, what's the board's pleasure with respect to the liquor license? Is it more to define the process and then start the process now and see where it takes us? And somebody want to take the lead on that?
I think Ginny was.
Ginny.
Ginny's
Yeah,
gonna take
I
it?
can
Okay.
do that.
Yeah.
You're gonna help, okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I think what might help is if we had a joint meeting with the planning board, or at least a couple of the heads get together.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
they're again reaching out for the master plan, and, you know, there's
Right.
different
Mhm.
thoughts of, you know, they talk about this on a routine basis, and we jump in and out every 6 months. So
Right.
I'd love to get their input.
Right.
Why don't
We're
we,
gonna
why don't
do
we,
that, but liquor got in the way, so
Yeah.
we'll jump back into liquor.
Exactly.
why don't we coordinate a meeting? You can work through us, and we'll try and coordinate a meeting
Sure.
with Sharon and maybe we'll greet her and a few
Yeah.
folks,
Yeah.
and see how that works.
Great, thank you. And then if anything else comes up that we need to add, you know, the
Mhm.
sooner the later,
Mhm.
there's probably a couple other
There
odds and
might
ends
be,
out
yeah.
there.
So, quick question, how, is the budget wrapped up and ready to be published?
Yeah, that was part of my update tonight, that the budgets are all in. They came in all last Friday. We're just finalizing, Randy's working on putting all the documents together now. We're gonna start hearings in January.
Okay.
So we're on track, we're on schedule at this point.
Okay. So, we're all set with the list so far? Our next item on the agenda is Bill's Town Manager update.
Thank you. I just want to announce to the board and invite you to the first ever Town Manager's Office breakfast that I'm holding for all the employees next Tuesday from 9 to 11 in the morning. Not at night for breakfast. So you're all invited to attend. We're going to have it at the Recreation Center located down on Mill Street. And we think that hopefully it's a tradition I started 12 years ago in Dedham. It turned out to be a very good thing that people look forward to every year. I expect it'll probably start out small, initially, but then it'll grow. It has a tendency to grow because eventually what I'd like to do is get the retirees to come as well, and some of the other board members to attend as well. So it's a nice event. It's sort of like an opportunity to say thanks to everybody's work throughout the year. We welcome all the employees to come. I can't have all the school folks because I wouldn't be able to do that, but certainly the school administration folks are going to invite them as well. So it's just a new tradition at the start, and hopefully it'll be some fun.
I imagine the gift exchange of the very interesting gifts
Yes,
is going to be
it could be
quite
interesting.
entertaining.
We actually started we started a process of we had the ugly sweater contest at the last.
Yeah, so they're doing that at the high school next week.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I think there were a couple of real winners in that
Really good
crowd.
ones, yeah.
I have to give kudos to Mike Johns and to Bill Caspar for having the most creative costumes, if you will. So.
Pictures to follow.
Yeah, there's
Oh, we
pictures.
have some good ones.
We have some good ones, yeah. The old firehouse and funeral home bidding process is well underway. We're expecting bids on the 22nd at 2 o'clock, which is next Monday. So we'll see what happens. We've had some interest during the process where we had the information in the open house. We had several people join us that day, so we'll see. I don't know how strong the interest will be, but we're hoping that we'll have some proposals to look at. The train proposal responses, the question that we sent to David Moeller and the state and the MassDOT, I heard back from David today. David said they are working on those questions, and they're about halfway through the responses. So they are spending a lot of time making sure they give us thoughtful, discernible answers about what we've asked. And he said that he hopes to have all the information back to us by the first of the year. So we will have those responses in hand by then, we hope. He said that they're working hard diligently. They've got it all farmed out to different agencies, et cetera. So that's in play. And then I didn't hand out to you or I think Deb handed out a regional service communications study that we're working on. I would like to get everyone's response to that. It's part of the process that we're looking at. So myself and even Mary Beth will be responding as well. So to the extent that you can get that back to us, by the first of the year would be helpful. All right. As I said, budgets are in, and we're working on trying to compile all the information, get everything underway. We're making good progress on the collective bargaining front. Lots of stuff being done. We're actually looking to have a meeting in January to make a presentation concerning the fire contract proposal that involves some interesting pieces. So we want to have an actual hour-long executive session with you, with the fire union here and the fire chief, and to go over what they're proposing and what we think will actually is a very interesting proposal. So we're going to have that coming up to you in probably the first or second week in January. And then finally, we had some unfortunate news yesterday. The MSBA came back to us with their initial review, and now, we know that we've talked about the borough school as being next in line for consideration, and it's a very long-ended process where you have to apply early to get consideration to even be placed on the list for possible funding. They did submit an initial, what is called a expression of interest to the MSBA. And unfortunately, we heard back this week, actually yesterday, that they rejected that proposal for this round of consideration. So there were over 75 applications made, and they did not think that it was worthy of consideration in this round. So that means they have to wait a whole nother cycle for consideration. It doesn't mean that that funding was imminent on this project. It just means that they would be started into the process, and then it goes through the process from there. So it's going to have to wait at least another year for consideration of that. So that's unfortunate news, because I know that the school department was anxious to try and get started on some. This is more of a renovation project more than it was anything.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate to hear that news.
Did they offer feedback, MSBA offer feedback as to?
I will actually forward you the letter I received, so you have it.
Okay.
And but it was unfortunate to hear that. So I didn't want to tell you before that meeting information was shared with the school committee, which was done last night. So I wanted to make sure you're aware of it tonight.
Thank you.
So I think that's it. Mary Beth, do you have anything you want to add?
No, just to probably jump on the collective bargaining. We're very, very close with our dispatchers. As Bill said, we have a joint presentation with fire. We're also meeting actively with DPW and steelworkers. So all of those things are ongoing, and it's been a really interesting, great process to jump in and do. A couple of the things that we've been working on are the executive assistant, narrowing down the applications. We received over 303 to be exact, and we got that down to about a list of 30 that we both culled into and began phone interviews, and we're now in the face-to-face interview stage. We do hope, Sandra leaves on January 2nd, we do hope to have someone in place maybe by early February. We're looking to keep that moving quickly. There's some very talented candidates out there, we're happy to say, and it's been an interesting process, so
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. There's some great candidates.
and it's been, it's tough. It's tough to have somebody with all of that institutional knowledge walk away and try to fill it. And we know that Deb is going to be a great resource over the next month while we are sort of short-staffed. We're also working with Randy on a financial analyst project manager position that he posted. He's been so busy with budget that haven't really had the resume review, but we'll be doing that soon. And I'm just working on assessing where we're at with things, cleaning up some policies and creating some procedures. We're hoping for 2015 every month to roll out a different training with employees. Worked really hard to pull the workers' comp and reporting and risk management piece together and come up with a guide that school and town people have all agreed to. Now I'm going to roll out some training. And then after the month after that, in February, I think we're going to be working on some FMLA training with department heads. At December's department head meeting, besides the ugly sweater contest, we had a representative from our EAP come out and do sort of an overview with employees. And we actually we're going to have some offline meetings scheduled regarding communication and respect and, some of the things, residual fallout from a couple of years of transition that employees have been through. So we're starting to address things like that.
And just want to say, because this is the last meeting before the first of the year, I want to wish everybody a happy and joyous holiday season, on both Christmas and New Year's. So, and whatever other holidays you celebrate, and we just hope that it'll be safe and it'd be nice to get back with everybody's families and enjoy the holidays. Okay.
Thanks,
Well
Bill.
said, Bill. Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
I just have a couple of have you found someone to man the housing authority? I know you were, that position was vacant.
Actually, it's not me that can do that. I can't.
Okay. Well, have they?
They have, and my understanding is that they were working, they had a candidate in mind,
Yeah.
But then what happened was that the state has not been able to, has not come forward with a pay schedule that was competitive enough to maintain, to hire a good candidate. So they're working off a 4-year-old pay schedule. And apparently the administration, Governor Patrick's office, and has actually been pushing for the regionalization of housing authorities. So as such, they have not really spent a whole lot of time supporting the effort of replacements. So they're kind of forcing the issue a little bit, as I see it. So, so my understanding, and I haven't really talked about this in a while, but the last I heard is that they actually had some candidates in mind, but they couldn't really competitively offer them a position.
Okay. And also, what's the status on the tastings bankruptcy? And have we gotten the liquor license back?
I want to say that we did, but I'll have to confirm that with Dave, because Dave was working on finalizing. He said that he had some final stages of that to be reported back, so I haven't heard from him since on that. So that was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I'll check on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. So next we'll go to action items.
Okay. Okay, the first two are what we spoke about earlier in regard to the change in suspension dates. I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the change of a suspension date from January 2nd, 2015 to January 6th, 2015 per request of the Renaissance Hotel.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. This is another one. I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the change of a suspension date from January 12th, 2015 to February 1st, 2015 per request of the Lafayette House.
I'll second that as well.
All those in favor?
Aye. Okay, the next one is from Bay Colony Productions. They had been issued a license for a September 28th, 2014 show, which wound up being canceled. And they're asking if it's possible to transfer the $50 fee from that canceled event to the new one that they applied for that we had already approved on December 31st. So I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the request by Bay Colony Productions to transfer a license fee of $50 from a canceled event of September 28, 2014 to the event to be held on Wednesday, December 31st, 2014.
I'll second that. I've got a question, though.
Go ahead.
Bill, what exactly are these fees for? I mean, is this for administrative work that took place at Town Hall to prepare for this event? And so the work may have been put in, but because it was canceled, that doesn't eliminate the work that Town Hall did to prepare for it. I'm just wondering if they've already, $50 isn't a lot, but I'm just wondering if they burned through the purpose of the fee.
I can't answer that. I don't really know how that was.
Because when you apply for this, I mean, this is
Yeah.
back in September, I'm sure Town Hall had to do something to prepare for it, or did it sit on a desk knowing that it was canceled and nothing was done? Again, minor, I'm not gonna hold up the process, I just don't know.
I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to check, to see what the, Deb, do you happen to know?
They canceled it, the permit goes, gets torn up, they don't have it anymore, they didn't use it.
But somebody had to create the permit,
Yeah.
so there was work done at Town Hall to prepare
Yes.
for it.
Yes,
Okay.
limited, but yes.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? 4-1. Thank you.
Okay, the next is a letter of resignation. Dear Selectmen, unfortunately, I must resign from the Conservation Commission and the Recreation Board as of December 8th, 2014, because I will be living in Florida for the next 5 months. Sincerely, Alan F. Curtis.
Yeah, Florida's gain and Foxborough's loss.
Right.
You worked as a workhorse for the conservation for many years, so I know he'll be missed.
Right. I move that the Board of Selectmen accept the resignation of Alan F. Curtis from the Conservation Commission and the Recreation Board as of December 8th, 2014, and thank Mr. Curtis for his service to the town.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Just a question there, so we initiate a process for replacing him now?
Right, they have,
There's a recommendation
Okay.
for
Right.
somebody.
Well, for the Recreation Committee, but not
Yeah.
for the Conservation Commission.
well, Conservation, they're already, they have some applications already, and they're looking for a replacement.
For the Conservation Commission, is there a member is there anybody that's under consideration that we just have to open the process?
Well, there's,
I think there are names already in a folder
yeah, there's two
from the
names.
last time.
I think
Okay.
they're reaching out, and then the applications are coming to town hall, and then they come to us with a recommendation. I think they vet out the process.
We normally post that, does that posting come from, I'm assuming that posting comes from us, that there's a vacancy on the board and that
I
there's
don't
a
know that-
open process.
Yeah, how
for
is that advertised? Do they do it themselves?
Usually,
Because I know there was some discussion about this board, from this board, about how applications should be submitted.
Right.
And so I want to just be clear about what we should be doing now. And my thought would be just to post it as a vacancy, and if anybody wants for a period of, 30 days or whatever the case
Put it
may
on
be,
the
and
website.
then put it on the website. and-
What's the handbook say? That we labored over.
right,
I'll
volunteer
have to check
handbook,
that, Yeah, I'll have to check on that. But I think that's, that'd be my
Yeah.
thought, to at least get some kind of process in place. Okay.
Maybe we can ask Frank if there's some place that it would be appropriate to mention that we're looking for that in the paper if the
Yeah.
opportunity comes up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They may have people that have already asked or inquired,
Mhm,
for
yeah.
that matter, which is fine.
Right. The next letter is from the Board of Recreation. Dear Ms. Brew, Chair, Foxborough Board of Selectmen, at its last board meeting, November 24th, the Foxborough Board of Recreation voted to recommend Kevin Powers as a new member of the Rec Board. I am forwarding this recommendation to the Board of Selectmen for approval. We look forward to hearing back from you. This must be to fill the vacancy left by Mr. Curtis. So I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the recommendation by the Recreation Board to appoint Kevin Powers to fill the vacancy on the board.
I'll second that, and thank you, Kevin. You'll do a great job.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The next is a gift. I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the acceptance of a $500 gift to the Boyden Library from the IBM Matching Gift Program. There was no other information on the form, just that it was from the IBM Matching Gift Program.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Okay.
The next is a reappointment. I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the reappointment of Frederick Grossmith to the Agricultural Commission for a term expiring December 14, 2017.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the next is a resignation letter, which I can't read because it's a really bad copy. But anyway, it's, the gist of it is, Paul Duma is retiring from the Norfolk County Advisory Board. So I move that the Board of Selectmen accept the resignation of Paul Duma from the Norfolk County Advisory Board and thank him for his many years of service to the town.
I'll second that. And thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. All those in favor?
Aye. Okay, the next is the final list of license renewals. I will read the categories. Automatic amusement, 1 automatic amusement, 3 common victualler licenses, non-alcohol restaurants, 2 common victualler licenses, all alcohol licensed restaurants, 1 inn holder, 1 restaurant, 7-day all alcohol license, 4 7-day entertainment licenses, 1 Sunday entertainment, 3 classic Class 2 auto licenses, and 1 limousine license. And this will finish, actually, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were 6 common victual licenses, non-alcohol restaurants.
Just a question on Fusion, now that we've suspended the license indefinitely. How would we handle a renewal?
The ABC typically tells you to go ahead and renew until you actually, to hold the hearing.
And keep it under an
keep
indefinite
it-
suspension.
That's right.
Okay.
That's a different issue, though. This is their entertainment
No,
license.
it's an all alcohol.
Yeah, this is in holder
All alcohol license. right.
Oh, they're in two places.
and Sunday
Right,
entertainment.
okay.
Just a question about the limousine licenses. There's 6 licenses listed next to it.
All
So,
East Coast limo,
okay,
they have 6 vehicles.
okay.
So in the entertainment licenses, you've got 43, but there's only 5, so there's multiple under each one?
Last week, we had approved,
just
remember we had
additional ones to the
approved
list last
2
week.
pages of
These are just
licenses?
wrong.
Yep.
Well, these were the final ones that, the paperwork wasn't in the last
Okay, so there's 5
meeting.
of them in front of us, but in total there's 43?
Yeah.
Okay.
And everyone on these lists are all up to date with all fees and
Yes.
taxes and everything?
Taxes, no outstanding
Okay.
defects.
Great. Details are all paid?
Yes.
Great.
So I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the following license renewals expiring on December 31st, 2015, and I already read them.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye. And that's it.
That's it. So, happy holidays, everyone. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
See you next year.
See you next year.
And I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.